everyone. Welcome to the episode 34 of the Full Funnel B2B Marketing Podcast. And we're back with our CEO series. And today, our today's guest is Karel Callens, who is the founder and the CEO of Cumul.io. And Cumul.io allows SaaS companies to build stunning interactive dashboards right within their application without having to code a lot with just few lines of code. And I'm really excited to have Karel as a guest today because we are going to talk about some of my favorite topics. We get to dive into how Cumul.io grew a high-value B2B product to about 200 customers in 29 countries without almost any outbound sales or marketing. And their secrets: unique market positioning, organic demand generation, and customer advocacy, which is kind of a B2B version of brand ambassadorship. Welcome, Karel.
Welcome. Thank you. uh, Maybe I would add to it also strong product. We took a lot of time to work on the product, and I think that definitely helps into scaling to a strong B2B SaaS organization.
I think it's a Belgian thing, or let's say European, Western European thing. I know a lot of companies like in Belgium, Germany as well, with what they call the product pride. And one of my clients spent maybe 14 years developing their product before they started heavily investing in their sales and marketing. And I guess you have somehow that kind of mentality, right?
Yeah, I think it's also because we entered in an existing market, and so the bar was already set, and typically you aim high, but secretly you jump even higher. So we set the bar higher every day. So I think that's important. But uh, we took a lot of time to create the product, and then we we knew we had to spend a lot of time on sales and marketing as well. But we never forgot. Into shaping and keeping it cutting edge every day, and raising the bar every day. So that's it. That's equally important, I would say.
No, I'm 100% with you. You can't grow a bad product. So what they say, good marketing is the fastest way to basically kill a bad product. And you mentioned yourself, you are in a very competitive marketing, basically decided to build a solution in, let's say, a bloody red ocean of analytics tools. And I wonder, how many times did you get a question, how are you different than tools like Tableau or Power BI? And how do you respond to that question?
Well, a lot, and still today, I think that's one of the things we we're definitely every day looking into solving in how we can better position ourselves compared to incumbents, which focus mostly on internal reporting. So if you look at Tableau, Looker, Power BI, etc., it's about reporting for the company itself about the numbers in the company. So let's say you're making a report for your manager or for the board of directors, you're using your sales figures, marketing, etc. Then you can use Tableau for that and deliver it to your board. What we do is we make available analytics and data visualizations to external stakeholders within your platform. So for SaaS companies that want to add dashboards to their own platform, that they can share with their external customers, so multi-tenant, and share those insights in a very visual way, in the way that they're showing their customers how to understand the data in their platform. So we're focusing on embedded analytics, which is way more than just visual representation of data, but it's really using dashboards as a tool within their platform. So it can be a segmentation tool, for example, to create your list of new targets that you would send in a Martech SaaS company. Yeah, so typically dashboarding embedded in other software solutions, and then our focus is at SaaS,
So
and that means.
basically, I'm
Sorry.
sorry. So basically, you took a big market and then you focused down, you niche down on a, well, not so small niche. Of course, there's so many SaaS companies in the world, but you focused on a very specific type of customer and a very specific use case, and that's how you build differentiation. Not only, of course, providing analytics, but making them easy to embed and all the other features that companies may need if they are going to use a dashboard in their tool. Makes a lot of sense. So nailing your let's say ICP or ideal client was a key there. And what kind of revenue growth or other results did you experience as a consequence of this positioning?
Because we started the company in 2015, but it took us 1 year to have a minimal viable product developed, and then 1 year more to have our embedded analytics. So starting from mid 2017, and then every year we at least doubled, which is a very good thing. We still we hope to do even more this year, even though COVID. I would say we're doing fairly well. Of course, we're always aiming higher. Like I said, I think that's a good mentality as well. But Yeah, we've seen some very good growth, and the good thing about it is, especially for a Belgian company, is that it's mostly international growth. So when we started the company, of course, in the beginning um, it's not that we went door to door, but we used our network to be able to build trust. But today, already more than 25% of our revenue is coming from the US. So the US is a big target market for us. And then next to it, we were present today, even in 30 countries. So today we signed a client in a new country as well.
And congratulations. And you
It's
mentioned
always
also
fun to add a flag to the list.
it's like a collection. And you mentioned also previously we chatted about it. You mentioned also that you have really good conversion rates from a free trial to basically a paid account. Do you feel that's also part of your like very focused positioning?
Yeah, I think so. What we did, because in fact, we bootstrapped the company the first years. But what we did is we knew that there was a problem, and we built a very good solution for that. And so everything in terms of marketing in the beginning was aimed at giving value to people that already know the problem, so are problem aware, but are solution seeking. And so that we built content that if they would search for, let's say, add dashboards to my Angular application or to React, that they would end up to our software, because there's not that many providers. Well, I would say there's no good solution except ours to do that. And that's embedded analytics today means that you embed in modern day software, so it needs to be multilingual, because you're catering to people across the globe. So if you're building a dashboard, you want it to be in Spanish, in English, etc. It needs to be multi-tenant and very secure, even though it's cloud. It needs to be cloud first, API first, so that it's not just showing something to the end customer, but really having something catered to the context of that client at that moment. So I think those things are very important. And so what we did in terms of marketing is stress on these facts. We know that already for a couple of years, everybody's talking about data-driven decision making. The last few years, people are acting on that as well. But that means that yeah, SaaS companies, they get confronted with the fact that their customers want visual insights. They want to get insights on their data that they're putting into the software. And although dashboards are becoming commodity, or are already commodity. Today it's get shipped with Office 365, etc. It's still very hard to add to your SaaS platform. And so by solving a very hard problem in a very easy way, I think that helped a lot into growing even with a small budget. And so we started mainly with content about solving a problem that we knew existed.
Okay, so people end up in your application, they convert at a higher rate because they didn't
Because
just
in
end
their
up.
trial, they were able to create dashboards that were production ready in some, even the day itself, typically within 2-3 days, because you need to think about what am I going to put in the dashboard, how am I going to present it to our customers. But within the trial period, they were able to already see what was possible, and already think about the ROI, because when you're thinking about analytics, often people look at it from a cost perspective, but in our case, it's more revenue generator. Because why are they adding analytics to their SaaS platform? Well, mainly because they know they can add features to it that they can maybe premium price, or they have more loyalty from their current customers, or they will be able to attract new customers. So it's more a revenue driver than a cost factor.
Okay. So not only you focused on one this very specific segment and let's say a difficult problem that many of those people or companies had, but also kind of like let's say a high value problem, let's say, that you can solve
Yeah.
for them. Now I wonder, I mean, basically analytics, building dashboards, it's kind of a generic solution. You could have positioned this in many different ways. But you did decide somewhere in your evolution, let's say, decided to focus on that very specific type of customer, the SaaS companies, and on a very specific use case or benefit, like them embedding that in their application. So I wonder, like, how did you come up with that, and what would be the process you would advise our listeners to follow to develop a positioning like that in a competitive space?
I think positioning is important every step of the game, and you need to look at least 2 to 5 years ahead. So when we started in 2015, I think it's about the time that Power BI also it came out, and so it was a time where dashboarding was pretty hard to do, even for internal reporting. But then everybody went to more data-driven decision making, and so we said we knew that it would mean that the whole world was going to be more data-driven in their decision making. Even in marketing, in HR, we see it everywhere that the people that get hired or the positions where they're looking for, they often request analytical mindsets or people that are already capable of working with data and numbers. So that was at the time what we knew. Um, and then when we looked at embedding analytics in other software to spread it across the world, then of course the early users are SaaS companies. They're always at the forefront of using new technology, always trying out new things. And so it made sense for us to target them as first customers. And today we know that, and COVID is, although it hinders a lot of companies, it made sure that data-driven decision making and moving to the cloud is going even faster today. So tomorrow we'll be targeting corporates and enterprise as well, because they have legacy applications that are currently desktop applications that are ancient technology. They're looking into moving into the cloud, but that also means that all those legacy applications will have to be transformed into cloud applications. And of course, we want to be ready for being able to cater them in the best way possible.
Awesome. And you mentioned, well, we've spoken earlier that the challenge that you have is that basically most of your prospects are not really aware of a solution like that a solution like Cumul.io exists, and that somehow you have to do a lot of awareness creation to generate demand. But given that you've closed, let's say, 200 customers, and you said, I guess almost 90% of them came via inbound channels, I think we can safely say that you cracked this problem. So, in what ways do you create awareness and generate demand for your
But
company?
I wouldn't say we cracked the problem. We're always aiming higher. So 200 is not a lot. We're aiming, I would say, next 2 3 years, 5,000. So
Okay.
we still have we have to do times 25 at least. Um, but what is important if you're coming into an existing market, then it's all about trust. People want to trust that your application will solve and will do the things that you tell them that you will solve and that you will do. If you're just a starting organization, you're never going to close that high value customer in an existing market. So we started small. We started with young dynamic companies that were from 5 to 50 people large. And then from that, when we saw it worked, we helped them a lot, making sure that everything was perfect. They were very happy with it. And of course, we started building ambassadors because these ones and those ones are the ones you want to have close to you, because they really like what your app and what your platform is doing, how you're helping themselves, and they're also very vocal about it. And so you see spreading word of mouth, and of course, attribution is always very difficult. We saw new trials, etc. But then behind the scenes, you're thinking, okay, those guys probably know these guys, and so they ended up while looking into it and ended up doing a trial. And so I think building trust is very important. And we started small and then going bigger and bigger in the testimonials that we had, always being very specific. So what we did is we, at a certain moment in time, we looked at our existing clients, the ambassadors there, and we started looking into if we could create content uh, that would help them even more. So looking at verticals and thinking about KPIs that work, for example, in the logistics space, in HR tech space, in MarTech space, built some examples in that, showed them where the value is, how they could help their customers even more. And then from that, we started growing. And today we're still doing the same, even more. I think the big challenge is continue doing it, but on a larger and larger scale every time.
Okay. And you mentioned also that content played a big role there. And I know that a lot of companies are finding it difficult to create content that will, let's say, stand out today. I mean, some people even speak about content spam. There is actually so much content out there. So what process did you use to come up with content that your prospects will actually want to read and that really stood out in the marketplace?
Well, we always create our content ourselves. I think that's very important. And at the same time, some people say we eat our own dog food. We say we drink our own champagne. I think that's very important as well. Why? Because then you're using your own software and you're seeing the things um, that that work and that make people look at it. Whoa, what did you do? And then whenever you show something and you see the sparkle in the eyes, you know you have good content that you can share. And the two original founders, so myself and Arun Vermeulen, we were very product focused, and enjoying the fact that what we built, that we could share it, and aiming for being proud on what you built. And because of that, of course, you're always looking into building something that you can show. So, for example, in 2018, you had the soccer championships. What we did is we scraped data about all players. And we created a sort of dashboard that could act as a dashboard to scout soccer players, where you could say, okay, I'm targeting a person that is higher than 180 centimeters, that scored more than X goals in the last season, with a value aimed at and played internationally. And from that, with a nice looking dashboard with parallel coordinates, people looked at it. Whoa, this is really interesting. And then with a button, okay, now sign these contracts. And then you had some joke. Okay, you don't have enough funds to sign these contracts, but you had to smile on people there. It never came across as spam, I would say.
Awesome. And what kind of content works best for you?
Um, it's the content that works best today for us is the content where that helps solving the problems that our customers or our leads face. So sometimes, well, most of the time they get from their customers, we want analytics, we want dashboards in the platform. Um, sometimes they already have static dashboards, but they're not able to maintain it, or it's way too costly. Their developers are swamped by the work. So we help them into how diminishing the time to in your go-to-market, but also help them in what should you put on the dashboards? What are your customers looking for? What are some North Star metrics that are important to use in your domain? What are KPIs to follow? What are best practices that you could use? And how should you style a dashboard in your platform? In terms of layout, but also where do you put the metric that is most important? Also helping them into going past just the visual aspect of a dashboard, because today if you look at SaaS company websites, uh, in their landing page there's always a dashboard, and it just seems as a gimmick, but it should never be a gimmick. If it's a gimmick, then it only works the first month, first 2 months, but then you'll see a drop in engagement. So dashboards should be more tools where you go to when there's a problem, or that you use in your daily flow. So for example, in MarTech companies, it would be looking at past campaigns, what worked, maybe looking at lists of customers and seeing from the results from past campaigns how they could build new lists to send campaigns to in a very visual dashboard way. But then you need to show them how to connect it to their own application, how they could do it. And so always content that helps them. I would say that works the best. It's also it takes the most time to build it. But in my opinion, you can better spend maybe 10 times more in building very good content that of course you reuse across as many channels as you can. But then, for example, just outsourcing to a company that writes bogus blog posts like the top 5 reasons or the top 10 reasons, where where it's just clickbait, and you feel ashamed after you read it, and it gives a bad feeling.
So I think what I got from you is that first you focused on the verticals to really understanding the problem, but also how you can add value to them in their apps, or like for like if you would try to generalize it, like for the type of client, but also not only how you can solve their problems, but also how can they be successful with it is what I
Yeah.
heard as well, because it's not just about them embedding a dashboard, but making also their users, keep using that, etc., creating retention from them. So going a few steps further there. I love it. I love it. And maybe just one more question to wrap it up. You mentioned, building ambassadors, investing in advocacy or ambassadorship, whatever you prefer. And what are some example initiatives that help generate most word of mouth?
I think we position ourselves as a building block for dashboards in any SaaS platform. That also means that in our values as a company, one that is most important is empower the success of others. If we cannot champion our customers, then we're not a good building block. And so from the start, we focused on that, being able to champion our customers, not only in their product, but also the person that is doing it, the chief product officer, the product manager in smaller company C-level to attain their numbers. And when you're able to champion them, they're also very likely to be very vocal about you, to be very proud of working with you. And then instantly they become ambassadors. And so I think this 9th of December, we'll have a new event, our yearly event, Data Talks. But we always give the floor to our customers to be very proud of what they built, to show off what they did, and to give them a stage. And I think empowering the success of others is very important and helped in our success.
And maybe just some concrete examples of how do you champion, let's say, somebody, somebody has built, they did a fantastic job, other than, for example, let them speak on your events. How else can you champion them?
Yeah, so you have championing internally in their company.
Okay.
Looking at the person that is using you, how can you make him important in the company? How can you make him achieve the results that he wants? For a product manager that is being able to ship that analytical feature that they've been working on for 1 year but never worked, but now with Cumul.io they're able to do it in just a few days. um, Next to that, of course, it's always being very um, proud of your customers at any stage. So we always grandfathered our existing customers in pricing. Even though we upped our prices as we moved and the platform became better and better, we always grandfather them, and that makes it their uh, you can come across people that would say, yeah, I was one of the first users of Cumul.io and be very, very proud of it. And it's those kind of things that you need. And always and also uh, um, champion them externally. So it could be that because we're always very close with our customers, so we have a very important customer success team that always keeps in sync with our customers. That does every 3 months there's at least a check-in call to see how is it going, how can we help, how will you move faster. But also sometimes we ask them, yeah, we're going to this lead, it's a important lead, it's not in your domain, but if you want you can join us and you can show what you built, because it might be interesting for you as well to position yourself there. And so you're helping each other there. And I think, well, like I said, it's in our DNA to empower them as well. And so that helps because word of mouth and trust between us and of course our customers grows naturally.
So you even invite them basically to join a demo with your potential customer and show that, and a lot of them say yes.
Yeah, so for example, to give a concrete example, we have a company that is building dashboards in sports world, and we had another lead that wanted to build something, but in a different sport, of course. And then we said, yeah, if you want to show out what you did, then feel free. And of course, within sports there's not only coaches, etc., but they were able to show what they did and had a partnership later on. So
Awesome. I love it. I think this was a great talk. Thank you so much, Carl. You nailed the topic. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.